Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day number 1012, 1012, January the 12th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Sunday morning. Okay, don't forget to get your comments in the comments section of this video for your vote for Dumbass of the Week. Dumbass of the Week. Be sure and get your vote in the comments section of this video. Now, let's move on to the big topic of today. It looks like Iran is admitting finally that they shot down the aircraft, the Ukrainian airliner, and they're saying that it was a mistake. Well, it really wasn't a mistake. I mean, they did intend to shoot down the plane. They just mistook the plane for possibly an enemy combatant. Didn't recognize that it was a commercial airliner and thought maybe it was a U.S. military aircraft or something. So it wasn't a mistake that they shot down the plane. They intended to shoot down the plane. The mistake was that they thought it was a possible U.S. aircraft and it turned out to be a commercial airliner. Now, of course, they're following up. The Iranians sound a lot like CNN and MSNBC and the left. They're blaming, in fact, they're probably getting their talking points from CNN. They're blaming the U.S., making the argument, that the reason the plane got shot down is because we had to retaliate because what the U.S. did. They forget to point out that what we did was based on a retaliation to things that they have been doing for the past several months, and we've basically held our fire. And we finally got an opportunity on a target we just could not pass up, and we had every right to hit Soleimani, and that has nothing to do with why they shot down a commercial airliner. Now, it turns out it's exactly what I speculated on the very first time I commented on this story 2 days ago. I said probably what usually happens, and the reason I know this is because when I was in the military, I was in an artillery unit, and I know that whenever our artillery units were out training and doing our thing, that there were air defense artillery, what we called ADA units, also around our perimeter, because we assume when we launch our missiles that whoever we launch them against, they're going to have their own systems which will tell them where those missile launches came from, and then they're going to target where those missiles were launched from, which would have been us, right? So we had ADA units that would be there to knock out any incoming missiles that would want to retaliate against us. So this is SOP, it's standard operating procedure, to have your ADA units support your artillery units, and you expect when you launch that you're going to get a response. And so this is exactly what happened. And there's also reports in Iran that some field commander had advised the regime to clear the airspace that night, and to make sure that there were no flights, and that if there were any flights scheduled, they should be grounded. In other words, they didn't want any planes in the air. It appears that the flight path coming out of the airport there in Iran comes within like a few dozen miles of a very large army base for Iran's Republican Guard, and it was artillery units that are deployed just outside this base to protect this base are the units that responded. And apparently they felt like they only had a few seconds to make a decision on whether to fire, and then they say before they could get confirmation, their radios jammed, and so they made a judgment call at the field commander level and decided, screw it, it's a plane, go ahead and hit it. And that's what they did. At the same time, I don't know how many of you have watched the videos of what's coming out of Iran, but it's so bad now that even Iranian media is reporting that they're having right now the largest protest they've seen in Iran. We've been seeing some pretty large protests over the last several months, but we're witnessing the largest protest that we've seen in Iran, and the protesters are opposed to the regime. They're calling for the death of Khomeini. They're out celebrating the death of Soleimani. And there's even one chant that I was watching that's in Arabic or whatever, or Farsi, and or Persian, whatever language they speak there, And essentially what they're saying is, you know, our government lied to us about the Americans. So our government is at fault, and they lied to us about the Americans. So clearly, millions of Iranians taken to the streets again. Some of the largest demonstrations we've seen. And a lot of people in Iran do understand what's going on. It's kind of strange, you know, in Iran, they have internet access. So they can get information outside the regime, which is kind of unusual because like in North Korea, China, places like that, they regulate the internet to the point where you really can't get much outside information. But in Iran, and I don't know if it's just the fact that Iran doesn't have the capability to stop that, or maybe they let it happen and then they just spy on the people who make comments that are bad about the regime, and those people get disappeared or something like that. So not exactly sure, but I do know that Iranians have access to information outside of the regime. So yes, things are coming unglued in Iran. Iran has had a very, very bad week, and now that they've had to admit that, and they really had no choice. I mean, the evidence was presented to them by the Ukrainian government, by the Canadian government. It's overwhelming. There's no question that they know where the missiles were fired from. They know exactly where the missiles hit. There's, of course, the Iranian government failed to control the crime scene, and so you had lots and lots of people roaming around there picking up pieces of, missile and things and such, a piece of a guidance system and all sorts of things that people are grabbing, and this is all being posted on the internet. So, I mean, you can clearly see, what's going on here. So the Iranian regime was no longer able to deny the obvious truth. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits, and the Iranian government is going to they'll be paying large reparations to the victims' families over this screw up. It's really going to cost them, and right now it's created a lot of internal chaos within the country. It's just a matter of time. You know, it's a damn shame that the Iranian people do not have a Second Amendment, because if they did, that regime would already be gone. It's tough when you're disarmed. It's very, very tough when you're disarmed. Well, what do we have here? It looks like the loose Lisa Page is out tweeting again. And in this particular tweet, she's tweeting about the Huber investigation, which, of course, did not find there was any reason to further investigate anything having to do with the rotten Reverend Clinton in regards to Ukraine, emails, private server, pay for play, Clinton Foundation. He's pretty much saying he's found nothing to suggest that they should investigate further. Now, officially, they have not officially closed the investigation, but we know that Attorney General Barr said back in May that Huber was pretty close to wrapping up the investigation, and its news reports are reporting that Huber's office is pretty much just finishing up, but they are saying at this point that they're not going to make a recommendation to do any further investigation. I think Barr was asked about whether or not Durham was looking at any of the Clinton stuff, the Clinton Foundation, and I do believe in that interview with Martha McCollum, he didn't elaborate very much on it other than to say that no, as far as he knows, John Durham is not, involved in, the Clinton uranium one or anything like that investigations. He's focused on other things, and that of course was with Huber. So anyway, that's what we know about that. So anyway, that's what Loose Lisa Page is commenting on. So she sends out this text where she says, yet another investigation, yet another conclusion that the FBI didn't shirk its investigative responsibilities. I am starting to sense a pattern here. Now, I'm not sure exactly what she's talking about, because if she says yet another investigation, I think she would be referring to the Inspector General as being the first investigation and Huber being the second. Of course, Mueller being in that group, that was also an investigation. Wasn't into the FBI, but it was using the FBI's, garbage that Mueller was relying on to put the hook in Trump. And of course, he was not able to because the information gathered by Lisa Page, Peters been stroking us, McCabe, and all the other criminal conspirators was insufficient. And in fact, turned out to be a fraud. So the Mueller investigation revealed the entire Crossfire Hurricane operation investigation to have been a fraud. The Inspector General certainly didn't clear anybody in the FBI. In fact, he made a criminal referral for the entire IG report. The entire IG report, it's in itself, is one whole big fat criminal referral. And as far as Huber's concerned, it was never a serious investigation anyway. I mean, the FBI had an informant. His name was William Campbell. He had all the information. He's done multiple interviews. His attorney, Victoria Tensing, has stated numerous times he's never even been questioned by Huber. There it is. That's the guy who could give you every bit of it. He's got it all. We've heard what he's got. We've heard him talk about it. It's all there. It's very incriminating. Huber has never even interviewed William Campbell. No interest. Never got a grand jury. Never interviewed any of the key people. He was given information by whistleblowers who appeared in Congress and even told Mark Meadows in the Congress, yeah, we've given Huber 3 times. We give him the stuff. We don't hear anything back from him. We call back and they say, well, we can't find it. We send the information back. They say they got it. Then they say they lost it again. 3 times these whistleblowers sent Huber's people the information and they can't find it. Never a serious investigation. The investigation to watch is the John Durham investigation. And that has not cleared anybody. In fact, we know from the statement he made after the Horowitz report came out that he disagrees with Horowitz on whether or not the Crossfire Hurricane investigation was properly predicated. Both Durham and Barr made statements disagreeing with Horowitz's finding. So I'm not sure why she's so happy about this. I don't think it's, in the idea that the IG report somehow, exonerated the Crossfire Hurricane team is just, I'm not sure what in hell you would have to have been reading in that respect. But it's even worse than that, because just a couple of days ago, Judicial Watch received 37 more pages of materials from the DOJ, including quite a few new emails from Peters been stroking us and Loose Lisa Page. And what is it that is so interesting in those emails, conversations? Because what are they all dealing with? Well, what they're all dealing with is how angry Peters been stroking us and Loose Lisa Page are, how frustrated they are that the Clinton investigation is being handled the way it was being handled. In fact, these emails show that Peters been stroking us and Loose Lisa Page were outraged, angry, and disturbed by the special treatment the Rotten Reverend Clinton's lawyers received when they were part of the email/server investigation. You can go read it right there on Judicial Watch's website. I just did. It's email after email after email of Strzok and Page complaining about how the Clinton email and server investigation is being rigged. In fact, there's one email where Loose Lisa Page sends an email to Peters been stroking us. It says, quote, God, I am in such a bad mood. I really just hate everyone, especially the DOJ. So, I don't know why she thinks she's exonerated. She certainly isn't, and never will be in my book, regardless of what Durham finds. These people. Well, it looks like Devin Nunes has finally reached the end of his patience with Michael Atkinson. As you know, he's the Inspector General of the intelligence community that allowed this whole whistleblower thing to get started. And they sent him a letter asking him various questions. Nunes is saying that the answers to his questions are unsatisfactory, and so therefore Nunes says that here in the next few days that he expects that they will send a criminal referral on Michael Atkinson, the ICIG. They will send that right over to Attorney General Barr. Now, Michael Atkinson is probably going to come up in Durham's investigation because Atkinson was the top legal advisor to John Carlin and Mary Moyer, who were up to their eyeballs in defrauding the FISA court. Atkinson was in on that. So his name's likely to come up in that anyway. But yes, it looks like Devin Nunes is about ready to make a criminal referral for Michael Atkinson. That guy is a total creep, man. Total creep. Well, we did have Trump tweeting out yesterday to the Iranian people in their language. I believe it's Farsi or whatever. But Trump obviously used a language translator and sent out a couple of really nice tweets to the Iranian people, basically just letting them know that he is watching them and that he is standing with them and that he is inspired by their courage to stand up to that regime. So that's very important, and that's what they need to hear. They need to know that Trump's got their back. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. There really isn't. They don't have any weapons to, use against the regime. And of course, thousands of them have been killed. They're being rounded up and thrown in gulags. They're being tortured. All sorts of horrible things are happening. So they are very courageous people. I feel very sorry for them. They're stuck in a bad deal. And as much as I would like to help them out, you just can't do it. You just can't do it. It never ends up well. The change has to come from within, and that unfortunately means that many Iranians are going to have to die. That's right. Way many more than should have to die. If they had a Second Amendment, the Iranian regime would already be gone. Trump is also now calling out Christopher No Shit Sherlock Wray for his weak response to the FISA abuse and the illegal spying. Yeah, and it's very frustrating, and what makes it, pretty frustrating, and I know hear a lot of people say, why don't Trump fire him? And I feel the same way, I'd fire him, but really, see, here's the problem. FBI director, CIA director, all these various positions, they have to be confirmed by the Senate. It's not like the president can just appoint anybody he wants. They have to be approved by the Senate. So any appointment that has to be approved by the Senate, you're going to get a deep stater. They're not going to allow an honest person to ever sit at the head of the FBI or the CIA. That's why they shot down Ratcliffe immediately. Even Republicans would not back Ratcliffe. If Trump tried to name an actual straight shooter to the FBI or the CIA or anything else, what would he get? Shot down. They control the deep state and they control the president using the Senate. So what we need is better senators, right? That's right. Trump can't just appoint people, in a lot of these key positions without them being confirmed by the Senate. And it's very hard to get an honest person confirmed by a body so corrupt as the U.S. Senate and so committed to the deep state. Remember, these deep staters are both Republicans and Democrats. If an honest man ever found his way into any of these positions, think what they could uncover. Think of the damage they could do. And that's what they're protecting. They're protecting themselves and their game. So that's what you have to keep in mind here. And that's why a lot of people are skeptical about Attorney General Barr. But I think Barr is a unique situation, although I think the jury's still somewhat out. I'm not happy with the way that he's gone along with the Epstein investigation. Not happy with, at least at this point, what appears to be the end of the Huber investigation. Now, Attorney General Barr, Huber may be done with his investigation, but I don't think the that Barr has actually done with it. Now, maybe Barr has just been sitting back waiting to see if Huber was going to do his job. And maybe if Barr looks at the situation as well, I don't think he really investigated that very seriously. Maybe Barr will give that to someone else in the DOJ. Maybe we could appoint a special prosecutor. Who knows? That's all unclear. I think the major thing that Barr is focused on is the Spygate thing. I think that really does bother him. I think the fact that they lied to the FISA court, tried to run a coup on a president, I think that stuff really does bother him. And I think that's what he's most focused on. I think from what we've learned about Durham, he would also be someone who would be very, very bothered by what happened. And, I mean, they may not be perfect, but they're what we got right now. And I think they're our best shot. Am I 100% sure that Barr and Durham are going to do everything I wish they would do? No, I'm not. But I'll find it very, very difficult to believe that Durham will end his investigation with no prosecutions. I think that's highly unlikely. Whether or not he'll indict and prosecute everybody that deserves to be indicted and prosecuted, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I never had any confidence, zero confidence in the Huber investigation. That's why I never talked about it. Never had any confidence whatsoever in Sessions. And as far as the stuff on Clinton, I mean, who knows? But I'm focused mostly on the Durham investigation, what happened in the coup. That's where my primary focus is. And I can say one thing, John Durham does not leak. Every single day, the number one thing that I'm interested in my videos is any new information, anything, even if it's a tiny little thing about Durham and his investigation. I'm telling you, I'll spend sometimes an hour just looking for anything, going through every source I have to find anything that I can learn about what's going on in the investigation. And it's just nothing, man. And it's not because Durham isn't doing anything, and we know he is. It's just that he runs a very tight show. He doesn't allow leaks. It's just so much different from the Mueller thing that went on there, where every day it was 3, 4, 5 leaks a day. Man, with Durham, he does not leak anything. So, anyway, that's pretty much the situation there. Of course, there's still a battle going on between Trump and the Senate. You know, Trump wants full hearings. He wants full hearings, witnesses. He wants the whole 9 yards. He wants to expose the whole plot right there in the Senate. But, of course, he's being told by everyone, including probably his own lawyers, now the best thing to do is have each side give their arguments, vote down any witnesses, shut it down, make it a very simple, very quick process, and get rid of it. That's what Trump's being told. I kind of understand where Trump's coming from. He wants to see the situation exposed. Now, we've seen that jaw flapper, Lindsey Graham, go on Fox and go on Maria Bartiromo and say, yeah, well, we can get rid of the impeachment thing very quickly, and then we can do a separate set of hearings on calling the whistleblower or calling this guy. Yeah, that all sounds good. The problem is it never actually happens. Graham has been promising he's going to get to the bottom of it. He's going to call in everybody who signed the FISA warrant. He's going to call in everybody who worked on the dossier. He's going to call in this. He's going to hold hearings on this and this and this. Nothing. Nothing. I don't want to see Lindsey Graham's ugly mug on the TV again until he's done hearings on this stuff. I don't want to hear another single word come out of his mouth promising what he's going to do and hold people accountable and call this guy and call that guy and have hearings. I don't want to hear a single another word. And I wish Sean Hannity would stop kissing his ass. The next time Lindsey Graham is on Sean Hannity, Sean should just say, look, you've been telling us for 2 years now, more than 2 years now, that you are going to hold these hearings, you're going to get to the bottom of that, and blah, 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 blah. Nothing. Crickets. And so if I was Sean Hannity, I'd say it to him right there live on the air. I'd say, Senator, I'm not going to have you back. This will be the last time that you're on my show until you have some hearings. Remember, Lindsey Graham's up for re-election. He's showboating. He's trying to play both sides. He's trying to go out there and talk like he's going to do something when, in fact, he's hoping people forget about it. So he doesn't have to do anything. He's a sham. Never liked Lindsey Graham, ever. He had his one moment during the Kavanaugh hearings. That was his one moment. But other than that, don't like him. Don't trust him. He's worthless. We'll see if he actually has any hearings. We'll see. Well, Michael Bloomberg, of course, who's already spent like ungodly amounts of money, like $20 million. He's starting to move up a little bit. I think he's up to like 5th place in a national poll. So you have Bloomberg moving up a little bit. And of course, now he's got the backing of that crazy judge, TV judge, Judge Judy Shineline or something. And they appeared together yesterday at a Michael Bloomberg campaign rally to launch the official entry into the race. I mean, I thought he was already officially in the race. I mean, he spent $20 million. He's, pretending to be in the race. But I guess, for whatever reason, he felt like he needed to have a major official opening announcing to everybody that he's in. I think everybody knows you're in the race, Mike. I think everybody knows it. But I guess he felt like he needed to have a major campaign rally to let everyone know that he is in the race. Problem is, now Judge Judy Shineline showed up to announce him. The problem is, only about 45 people showed up to his rally. 45 people showed up to his rally. There are more people than that waiting in line at a Trump rally to take a whiz. That's how bad it is for Bloomberg. He's despicable. Yes, and we have another really big problem shaking up for the Demo-Commie Shiite party. It looks like the Demo-Commie Shiites' next debate, it looks like only white candidates qualified for the next Democratic debate. Only whites. Huh. And Tom Perez, head of the DNC, says, well, it's the voters, the Demo-Commie voters who choose. What does that tell us? I mean, if we use the Demo-Commie Shiite logic here, we could only come to the conclusion that what Perez is saying is that the Demo-Commie Shiites are obviously racist. I mean, only white candidates have qualified for the next debate. Clearly, they don't support any of the black candidates in the Demo-Commie Shiite party. Therefore, we can have to ascertain from that it's because all these white Democrats are racists. I mean, that's the Demo-Commie Shiite logic applied to their own party. Man, oh man, you can just see this thing going off the rails. I expect there'll be protests. I guarantee you at that debate, some person in the audience is going to stand up, or some people in the audience are going to stand up and start protesting like crazy that there's no black or minority. Although Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, she's kind of like Hawaiian. I don't know if that. So that's kind of like Hawaiians are kind of like Indians, I guess. I don't know. They're native. They're like Native Americans, Native Samoans, whatever you are. But anyway, it doesn't look like there's any actual black people in the Demo-Commie Shiite debate coming up, and that's going to wrinkle a lot of feathers. You can bet certainly isn't going to help them with the black vote, which Trump is now stealing from them. Let's see. We talked about Iran having a bad week. CNN had a really bad week too. CNN, even on their own network, had to come out and admit that they settled with Nicholas Sandmann. Now, we don't know how much the settlement was for, but the CNN part of it was $250 million. And we can assume that generally you get about 10 to 20% of what you're actually suing for, especially in an out-of-court. So we can assume that Sandmann probably got somewhere in the $20 million range. Probably, maybe even likely more than that. Now, the lawyers will take most of that, but he'll still end up with quite a bit. And, of course, there's still many other lawsuits left to come, not just with NBC and Washington Post, but then there's a bunch of individual Hollywood leftists, such as Griffin, Kathy Griffin, this other weirdo, I forget his name, but there's quite a few, Michael Rappaport, So yeah, there's about a half a dozen Hollywood idiots who are about to, who either have been served or are being served, and they're going to be sued and probably have to settle as well. Probably going to bankrupt some of those people. But in addition to CNN having to settle with Sandman, they also were in another labor dispute with the National Labor Relations Board, where apparently Zucker had fired a bunch of union technical people at CNN, and they went to the NLRB and they got a lawyer, and they have finally reached a settlement. And so this is going to cost CNN $76 million. CNN is going to have to pay $76 million to in back pay to these union employees whom they fired to replace them with non-union employees. That's not going to go over very well with the Demo-Commie Shiite party. So, yes, that's a very bad week, and they still have this other couple other lawsuits. One is for racial discrimination against some black person that worked at CNN. Another is a sexual harassment suit that's ongoing. So, man, I don't know. And with their ratings being as low as they are, that network, they have to be losing money. I just don't know how they could be making money. So it's only getting worse for the Commie News Network. And that's Poetic Justice, of course. Bernie is taking heat from the fact that he's been flying on a private jet. So he's on with some late-night comedian, and he says, well, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep flying on that private jet. Like I said, Bernie is in it. If Bernie wins the nomination, he will not know what in the world to do, because he was never intending to win the nomination other than to lose badly to Trump. Bernie's working on his retirement plan. Bernie is building his donor list so that when he leaves the Senate, he can sell that donor list for $20 million or so. And that's what Bernie is. This campaign for Bernie is his retirement plan. But we do have Bernie now somehow leading in Iowa. He was up, then Buttigieg moved up on him. Now Bernie is back in the lead, and Biden has now slipped to 4th in Iowa. If Biden doesn't win, or even he needs to either come in 1 or 2 in Iowa or 1 and 2 in New Hampshire. If he does not, then this whole facade that he is the front runner is just going to evaporate. Because people say, well, I guess he's not the front runner. He can't even place inside the top 2 in Iowa or New Hampshire. Guess he's not the guy. And boom. He's just going to collapse. And the only person who can step in that I can think could come in and do this now at this point is Sanders. Maybe Warren will pick up maybe something from that. Buttigieg may pick up something. Even Bloomberg might pick up something from that. But you got to have some people on the ground who actually support your ideas. And Bernie is the one guy. Remember, he got 40% of the vote in 2016. He's got the ability to raise the money he needs. He's got the name recognition. He's probably going to do well in some early states, big states. If he goes out there and comes in 1st or 2nd in New Hampshire, Iowa, gets out to California and does very well out there, I think it's very likely. Now, they'll do everything they can to stop Bernie. Obama's already said he would actively get involved he already is involved, but he'll get more actively involved if Bernie looks like he's going to be the nominee. And I think that you'd see the Right Reverend Clinton's name show up on a nomination card at a brokered convention if that should happen. We'll just have to wait and see. Excellent numbers from Trump's rally in Toledo. 21.9% of the people at Trump's Toledo rally were Democrats, 20.9% were independents, and there were 5,216 people at his rally that didn't even vote in 2016. And of course, we learned that Nancy Pelosi is now wearing a brace at night to keep her from grinding her teeth because she stays so angry over Trump. Fantastic. Don't forget your vote for Dumbass of the Week. See you tomorrow. Bye.